Pretty proud, and it took me one stream, and now I have landscape mode, so we're getting better. Like, so tonight we're gonna do 2 quick watercolors. For those who joined last night, you're gonna see a lot of the same stuff, but again, any questions anybody has, we're gonna do 2 little ink and watercolors that you're gonna finish up. This is the other one. All right, I had such a fun time last night that we decided to, since I'm in here working again tonight, that we would let you guys all pop in here and check it out. So I'm gonna do 2 small ink and watercolors. I'm gonna start, I have nothing sketched out yet. We're gonna kind of sketch them. Then we're gonna put the watercolor in, then do some inking, and then you'll kind of see the whole process. This should probably take an hour tops, and we'll kind of see 2 little pieces come together. These are for my Valentine's Day sale. And ink and watercolor is kind of not my main primary mix. Mostly I do enamel and enamel paintings, which most of you guys have probably seen. So this is a fun switch up for me. So we're going to kind of show you what I do. It's a fun, spontaneous. There's no pre-drawing. I just kind of sit down and what comes to mind. So we're going to get sketching here and see what we got. And if you guys have questions throughout the time, feel free to ask away. And so this guy here, I think, I would like.
Fongie is in England saying she should be sleeping.
Thank you, Fongie, for battling through England to come and watch. Hope it's worth you staying up. I can't promise anything. I can only try. International flair that you add. So I think for this little guy here, I'm going to have sorry if I break off mid-sentence. I lose my train of thought. So a little skeleton here. I'm going to have this little guy, and he's going to be lovingly holding this little skull in his hand. Everybody needs their own little pet skull. As you see, I kind of, make adjustments as I go. There's nothing pre-laid out. I kind of work as I go, make adjustments, figure it out as I roll. So it's kind of just a thought in my head now, and we're going to kind of make it happen. Hopefully.
Push one of the lamps up. It's really blowing out.
I'm going to pop a little lamp there, see if that helps.
Yep.
So this skull is holding another little skull with a little brain inside there. I think the idea is, I love you for your mind. Because that's cute. That's Valentine's Day-ish, right? I don't like this part. Let's change it.
Kevin's asking if you can have darker Valentine's Day themes.
Darker? How dark does Kevin want to go? The question was, I have darker Valentine's Day themes. I'm going to have a little more macabre mix this year. We heard the dark people. We hear you. We're going to do what we can. Well, I don't like this whole thing now. We're going to have a really wide mix this year. We're going to have some cute little animals. We're going to have some more of the macabre style. We're going to really just a fun mix of, again, I'm doing them as they kind of come to me, sit at the table here, and just trying to make a fun mix for everybody.
Still really blown out.
Yeah, it'll be a little blown out until we get to the, it's so light, that's not going to be able to fix much with that. So once we get to the little watercolor, it'll adjust a little better. That's kind of the nature of the pencil line. Pull a little bit back here and see if that helps a bit. That's closer to what I'm looking for there. You know, see, nothing's set. Yeah, I'm just not liking that. This live stream should just be called the erasing stream. But that's how it goes. Now we're getting somewhere. So a lot of great questions last night of all different types about everything from the supplies I was using to, general art questions. So again, whatever you guys want to ask, I can draw and I can make mistakes and answer questions at the same time.
Somebody's asking, what are you using to film with?
So right now, my filming setup is just my iPhone. I have it wired into a, excuse me, I have it on an arm. It's a flexible arm, metal arm, typical, very common with photography equipment. So basically it has a clamp that clamps to my table. It has a long arm that kind of comes right to a little bracket that holds my iPhone, and just have these two desk lights pointing at it. So we play with a little bit to kind of get, I have GoPros and things like that I've used, and right now we just kind of found right for it's easiest with the iPhone.
You acted all that out as if you're on
I did act it all out. There's a whole production behind there of me song and dance pointing to things. I apologize if you couldn't see any of that. Listen, I'm new to all this stuff too. Okay, so pencil sketch is done. Little cuteness. So I think we're going to move to throwing some watercolor down. To break my pencil. I think I want a spine. I like a little spine sticking out. All right. So let's put some watercolor down. For the watercolors, I'm just using, show you guys here, it's just a standard watercolor pans. This is from Pelican, like I was talking about last night. This is just an old set that I happen to have. It's got to be almost 20 years old at this point. Just a basic, you know, kind of set. Has 3 trays. All folds together, and that's what I'm going to use tonight. So the first stage is kind of loosely, you know what, before I do that, I'm just going to soften this with a kneaded eraser just to pull some of my lines out a little bit. And that's a little shaky for the cam. I apologize for that. The eraser just takes some of the pencil lines and just lightens them a bit. So the first stage now, I'm just going to throw in some color. Mix a color over here.
What inspires your drawings and paintings?
So, again, Day of the Dead is the basic. The question is, what inspires my drawings? And obviously, Day of the Dead is the main core direction that steers my work. It's really where everything starts and kind of branches out from there. This is these specific types of images. The inspiration is really they're fun fragments. It's kind of little moments in time, you know, just messages, thoughts, things that may not be a full painting, but they're just a fun little, you know, moment in time almost. And that's kind of the direction of these small guys. It really is that split second, kind of just capturing that cute moment, that, you know, whimsical character, those kind of things. My other art, more of the enamel type work and more serious stuff, it starts with Day of the Dead, and then it goes from, I'm inspired by everything from movies to books to traditional art, and that really kind of is all steered from, you know, taking that Day of the Dead and then just really finding those stories and applying that, you know, Day of the Dead style filter, whether it be historical, other cultures. It's kind of taking that jumping off point and expanding, and I'm very fortunate to be able to paint all different types of things, and people enjoy it. Hope that got some of your question there. It was a little all around, but again, ask away. So I'm just kind of throwing in a little bit of color here just to kind of lock my character down.
Keeps blowing out.
Yeah, until you get some contrast stuff, that's just what's gonna happen. I don't know what else to. Trying to battle the blowing out. Yeah, I think it's because of the wide angle. The wider angle we had last night, we didn't have a wider angle, so we're getting a little blowout with my hand coming in there. I don't know why it's doing that. Kill the overhead lights. See if we can adjust some of that. Nope, that didn't help anything. Wider angle. So hold on a second, I'm gonna try and fix this blowing out problem so that you guys can see what I'm doing here. I don't know if it's a color, this is the technical difficulties portion. Yeah, I don't know. All right, that seems to help a little bit, so let's go. Better? All right, let's get back to this here. That seems to be a little better now. Apologize for that. It's a learning process. I'm learning too. We're going to get better. We'll be like, you know, Industrial Light and Magic by the end of this thing.
medium do you prefer?
So the watercolor, the question is, what medium do I prefer? This watercolor style really was born from my constant travel. It's something I can do on a plane. I can kind of carry my stuff with me. I can't bring enamel with me. You know, you can't fly with my paints and thinners and just, you know, that kind of stuff. So this style was born really from travel. So I really enjoy this, how light and airy I can be, and the style. So I appreciate this. I love my enamel. I love, you know, detail and putting, you know, tons of detail down. That's really enjoyable for me. I love the style. Just really building an image that way, big, large images. So this is a great relaxation, and it's a fun fragment. It's a great opposite kind of mix than the enamel. But I think, you know, enamel is my true love. You know, long detail paintings that take, you know, 20, 30 hours is really my joy. So hopefully it's a little less blown out and you guys can see what's going on now better. I'm going to use a heat gun just to dry this a little faster. Excuse me. I'm using a watercolor block, meaning the paper is attached to the block, so we don't need to tape it down. So it doesn't really wrinkle much either. We're just going to give it a quick little dry there. And I'm going to throw a little bit of color in just to give the a little bit of value to this in here. Alright. So we're going to dry this a little more, and then I'm just going to add a little bit of texture to the background. You see my enamel paintings, I love the background texture, I love kind of grit and age, and I do bring some of that to the enamel too. I do like to
Is it tough to keep the lines from blurring when using watercolor?
yeah, I mean, the question is it tough to blur, to keep the lines sharp in watercolor? And it is, especially if you're painting with wet paper, because it will bleed. So that's why I kind of dry it in between. I'm just throwing a little bit of texture in here. You just got to plan a little better, just to make sure that you're dry in between. So I'm just throwing a little bit of little texture in there. Just my brush, soft with some paint, smack with my finger just to throw a little bit in there and just tap some back. I don't need to have them all that dark. And we're just gonna go, the bleeding question again, this is why I go back in right now and I'll dry these spots to make sure I don't bleed them or blow them out with the next layer I'm gonna put down. And that's the fun part about these watercolors versus my enamel painting is they go fast. They're very spontaneous. They can kind of capture a moment. All right.
Is the shipping department behaving?
The shipping department is behind me. The question is, are they behaving? They're here, and as of right now, they were great last night. They didn't cause any problems, so they're just in the back right now. Excuse me. There's no trouble. There's no fighting yet. But again, they'll make an appearance. They always find their way onto the screen. So last night they were very tolerant of this new thing, this not treats. All right. So the next step, I'm going to throw in started putting some color. So I'm going to use my watercolor brush. It's a traveling watercolor brush. It just means it folds down like that. Brushes, I mean, I wouldn't consider myself a brush snob at all. I mean, I like a good brush, but, you know, you can get everything you need at Michael's. You know, there's no need to go crazy. All right, let's, we're going to let's carve out our skeletons a little bit. So I'm going to use white gouache for this. And I used that a little bit last night. What gouache is basically a more opaque watercolor. It's water-based, just like watercolor. But it gives me the ability. I use it for all the the background paintings of my enamel. But I do enjoy using the white in watercolor because it lets you get these highlights.
Do you ever use salt to get spotted texture?
The question is, have I used salt to get spotted texture? And I have used that before. I've used it in watercolor spots. I've used it actually on big pieces too. I really love the texture. It is a mess, and it does leave pieces in larger paintings that just you can't get the salt off. But I do enjoy the texture. It's kind of like a great way to mask out areas, and it's a very unique texture, and I do enjoy it. I do. For the small guys here, I think it's just it's a little too much going on for these smaller guys, but the bigger pieces for sure.
Your sister says you should bring the dogs to Texas for a play date.
The question is, do the shipping department make road trips with us? They are not allowed to travel. In many states, I think they're actually have put on a no-fly list. They don't behave here, so I don't know why you'd think we'd bring them anywhere else. So now I'm just throwing in some white gouache on my skeleton here to just have them pop out a little bit. So obviously there really isn't a white watercolor, and that's why the white gouache works so well for this.
Meredith is watching.
Oh, excellent. Great to see Meredith here. Old school, OG. There's like a special VIP area they could watch from. So again, putting this in here, and gouache is very much like acrylic in its thickness. You know, it comes out of the tube, you know, thick, just like acrylic. The real big difference also, which I didn't mention before, is that I can add water to this gouache, and it'll become workable again. Unlike acrylic and watercolor, when they're dry. This I can literally go back in and rework and put a color over. So it really has a unique set of pluses and minuses. It's really popular with automotive illustrators. You know, chip foozes, those kind of guys that you're putting in reflections. It's really a tool they love. So we're just trying to get a little bit of that highlight back. You won't overdo it, just a nice layer of it. And after the stage of the watercolor, we'll go to the inking, and that's where all the detail really gets carved out. You'll kind of see all those pieces, everything come together, make a little more sense. This is very loose compared to how detailed and exacting the...
Is this for creating texture?
So for this, for me, the reason we're using the white gouache, the question was, is it for creating texture? And it does have a little texture, but that's actually, to me, not a bonus. It really is just to kind of just give the whites I could have masked it out, use like a liquid Frisket or something to mask out the white, or just left it white. But I like to just kind of give it I like the gouache gives it a subtle, you know, bony separation from the background. Kind of, it's like a soft highlight. So it's just like a personal preference. I just enjoy the way that kind of gives it not a ghosty image, but just a light value difference to the background. Most of the texture will sit down. It does when it's wet. Looks like it has a little bit of texture, but it does sit down pretty well. So I'm just gonna throw a little more on the highlights on the top here, and then we're gonna move along. So again, we're going to do more of these videos. We had a great time last night. Been a lot of fun. So if you have questions, you can ask them here. You can follow up. If you have other things you guys want to see, besides the shipping department, they can get their own show. I'm tired of promoting them. So they can get their own live stream. But anything else you guys want to see, just feel free to let us know. And we'll see if we can make something happen.
Estella, I haven't seen her in a while.
Excellent.
Showing up with her daughter. A few people watching with their kids.
Excellent. Well, welcome, guys. I'm glad we're seeing lots of names pop up. There's some kids in the crowd too, so we're gonna keep it clean. We're gonna have fun. Kind of see the artwork come to life. So we just got here now. I'm just putting in some white gouache on top of my little watercolor background, and we are about to move some other colors. Let's put some other colors in there. Actually, I think there's only 2 other colors. So we're gonna let's pop these little hearts. So we're gonna just pop some of these little hearts here. You'll see me dab with a paper towel, and that's just to pull off a little bit of the color. Kind of gives you an instant highlight. Yeah, I really discovered watercolor from traveling and just really enjoyed the, kind of being in my seat and being able to be my own little world on the plane. And boy, if you want to talk to strangers, painting next to them is not the way to do it. I've had headphones on for hours just to not talk to the people next to me.
Stella says you should do a tour of the art at our house.
Oh, geez. Yes, we have some followers that are watching that have pretty big collections. We could do live streams just from their house.
No, your house.
Oh, from our house. Oh, from the art I collect. That's a great idea. Maybe one of the streams we'll do a tour of what I collect, kind of the art. Over time as we do shows, I've come to know artists, and you can kind of see from sculptures to paintings. We have I have a big collection here of things that inspire me, and an artist that I know and have met. So that's a great idea. We can kind of show my art and show the guitars. We can show all the other art I collect. It'd be a fun walk. It's a good one. It's going on the list.
How do you keep your hands stable? You don't use any tools or anything?
So I don't use a maul stick. A maul stick the question is, how do I keep my hands stable? A maul stick is basically a wonderful device by sign painters. Use it primarily. Actually, a lot of artists use it also. On my bigger paintings, I don't use a maul stick because I paint straight up and down, and I work from right to left, and I do the old pinky out and paint, and this kind of supports my hand as I paint. I haven't needed it yet. As I get older, I may need an anti-shaky stick, but right now I kind of lock my thumb, and my elbow kind of locks to my side, and my whole live demo setup, which we'll also show one of these days. Excuse me. It's kind of designed for long-term painting. I do use 6-hour blocks, and it's kind of designed for me to be in that position. So I kind of have a footstool. I have a little stool that I sit on, and my elbow can kind of be locked in and keeps it from shaking around. And as long as I work from right to left, I'm in a good spot. The maul stick is great when you're going over areas that are already wet, and because I work basically across the painting, I don't need to go back into wet areas. So for me, I can kind of lean on the painting usually. I don't have areas of wetness beneath me. That was a long, sorted speech, but that's kind of what it is. All right, we're gonna add
20 minutes without any painting.
I know. Hey, well, I'm sorry. People have questions. I'm trying to answer questions.
Dennis said we should show the tikis that you've carved.
Yes, so before I painted, I used to carve tikis also. So we'll have to, when we do the little house tour and we show the art, we'll show some of the tikis that I've carved. They're still all around the house. So I'm just adding the last bit of color in here to the creepy little brain.
Tay Herrera says hello from Area 51.
People coming in from all over the place. From Tijuana last night to Area 51 tonight. All right, I think we're going to move now to the inking. I'm just going to add a couple of little darker shadows to our little hearts, and then we're going to move along. I'll be accused of wasting time. All right. Okay, so the next step, I'm going to use my heat gun. We're going to dry this guy, just to seal everything down and make sure everything's dry before I go in here. All right, that's nice and dry. Everything is dry to the touch. So before I go to the inking, I'm going to use an acrylic paint pen. This brand is from Germany. There's a billion brands of paint pens. This is just kind of the one I'm currently in love with. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to shake that a little bit, and then I'm just going to add a couple of little spot highlights to my hearts. Just a little.
Do you have reoccurring characters, or are they one and done?
The question is if I have reoccurring characters, and I definitely would say that I do, especially with the cute characters. I have a lot of ones that, you know, that kind of come out. Again, these watercolors are a great opportunity to kind of play with these. I do a lot of smalls throughout the year, which are small enamel paintings, tend to be under, 12 inches by 12 inches. And they're all kind of in that cute realm. I kind of imagine this little world, and these characters all fall into that kind of cute little environment. They tend to have no bottom teeth. They tend to have no jaw, really, like these guys here. And it's kind of, to me, my cute side, my personality. It's like a whole side of it. And these characters all represent that side. All right, so the next step now, color's all down. We're going to do the inking part. This is when you see it all come to life. So I'm going to ink. I'm going to use a rapidograph. You can use everything from any kind of liners. I have a variety of liners here, just what I enjoy. They're kind of expensive. They're kind of annoying. They need to be cleaned all the time. They're a pain in the butt. But the consistency of the lines is really great. So I really enjoy them. And you'll kind of see here that it lets me move, kind of fast. And you'll see the detail just kind of come about. So we're going to go in with this and start doing all the detail work. So I use this thickness now, which is a 0.50. That's the thickness, you can't really see in the pen. And I do all my big lines with that. And this is fun, this is where all the detail comes together. And I'll do this pen size first, and then I'll go back in with a smaller one to do some more detail. And you'll see, and I'll let you know when I switch pens, so you can kind of see the difference.
Do you still do any San Diego farmers markets or anything like that?
So the question is, do we do any San Diego farmers markets? We don't do anymore. My schedule has just gotten so busy. That's how we started. Being in Oceanside, California, and doing the farmers markets is how I got started as an artist. Being out there and showing the artwork and having amazing support of the city kind of started my career. I really miss that. Everyone was so welcoming. I still have people who follow me from that time period. It's just a happy spot, and we hope to maybe have a throwback and go down there and live paint just as a thank you. It's been so long since we've been down there.
Is the storm affecting you?
What storm? Here we question is the storm affecting me? And I have no idea. It's cloudy, and in San Diego, that's like, what's going on here? Why is it cloudy?
Do you ever use an airbrush in your work?
So the question is, do I use an airbrush? And I don't use it in my paintings, but I use it in my sculpture a lot. I really enjoy when I do 3D sculptures, shift knob style type work. I love the airbrush. I use it. I have a bunch of friends who are really good airbrush guys and kind of learning and have been really great teaching me and showing me the ins and outs. And I really kind of added it to my arsenal and really enjoy for sculpture what it can do. I don't haven't found an application for it in my painting, but I do enjoy what I've been able to do with it from the sculptural side. So you can kind of see here where everything's come together. And when I paint, I go left to right. When I do inking, I tend to be all over the place. I just kind of get excited. You know, I want to, oh, that's fun. Oh, I want to draw that line. I want to put that guy in there. So we're just adding all the detail in. And for me, just like with an enamel painting, this is really the fun part. Doing the dark line work and the ink. It's just the first part's relaxing. This part's exciting. We're gonna give him some little teeth. We're gonna give him a big old brain. Thumb of this guy here.
When's your next LA show?
So the question is, when's my next LA show? And I think I'll be my artist in residence at Disney in Anaheim is probably the next time I come in that direction. I don't do Hollywood Forever Cemetery anymore. So that's probably the closest I come is that. In September. I'm there for the full month though, and I'm live demoing every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, so you can kind of come down and see the work. And we may have a couple other exciting things, so we'll see what happens when we get to that point. Excuse me. All right, now I'm switching pens to a very, very small. It's basically a 0.3. I'm just going to clean off my tip over here. All right. And now I'm just adding in detail. Kind of fun little spots. This is the stuff I really enjoy. It just kind of gives a character a feel.
Your nephew Cole says hello.
Oh, excellent. Welcome to Cole. The whole fam's checking it out. People violating their bedtimes to come out and watch. I appreciate it. And some of this and some of that.
Where's your Bob Ross voice saying, let's paint some happy little skeletons?
Happy little skeletons. I feel that until I have Bob Ross hair, I feel like I'd just be cheating if I use Bob Ross voice. I'm jealous of his hair. Of hair in general. So we're gonna do some little brainies over here. Just gonna add some details. And that's why these are so much fun. They're loose. There's no rules. It's really a fun experience to draw.
Oh, the Netherlands checking in.
Oh, the Netherlands is here. Appreciate you guys crossing the ocean to be here. That's awesome. Little things in there.
What do you do if you mess up on the ink part?
If I mess up on the ink, the live stream goes off and we're done. But I've gotten very good. I think that's really, again, I mentioned it last night. The difference between, I think, a professional is just being able to hide your mistakes. I can fix just about anything. I can work with just about anything. The nature of enamel is that you can't change it once you put it down. So I've kind of trial by fire gotten used to kind of not having that safety net. And, you know, I can kind of incorporate or fix anything. So you just kind of go and you hope for the best. Let's add some more details here. And then we're going to toss in a little cute line here.
When are you coming to Texas?
When are we coming to Texas is the question. We have nothing planned right now.
Maybe a Comic-Con someday.
But maybe a Comic-Con, yeah. We're doing a variety. We're adding Denver. We're adding a few other ones here and there, so you may see us around. We're always adding new shows, kind of doing new things, so we kind of experiment and try new stuff and are on the road doing new things. So we're, you know, if we're not in your area now, there's always a chance that we may make it out there.
Where'd you get your inspiration for this piece?
This is one of those just little ideas that creep into my head. You know, it's just one of those things where I think it's cute and funny, and I, you know, I hope that someone else feels it too.
It almost seems romantic or early Renaissance.
Yeah, I agree. So I'm gonna add some. Oops.
What's that? Mine.
Ah. Just want to change that.
Am I hearing the shipping department in the background?
They are silent. Shipping department's being very cooperative right now. So we're just going to add a little finished final touch to this. Make sure you guys can see it there. Shipping department is snoring away.
Says, what's the music you're listening to?
Right now I have Pandora. The question is, what music am I listening to? In the back I have Pandora going. So it's really on a shuffle of all my stations. So currently, Run DMC is playing. I think we had Flogging Molly before that. So it's a little bit of everything. We can't turn it up too loud because we'll get in Facebook jail. But when I'm painting, there's always music or movies playing something. I can't have silence. That makes me weird.
Do you have any more books in the works?
The question is, having more books in the works. I have another kid's book that we're currently working on now. I've had 2 already, so it's kind of the continuation of the story. So I'm excited to get that released soon. So it's in the works. I'm thinking maybe this year or early next year. So I'm just adding in the last bit here. Because I love you for your mind. I'm just going to add a quick little bit of heat gun here to dry that. Make sure we're good to go. I'm just going to take off some of the pencil lines. And this little one is done. So you asked about a mistake, and my big hand just made one. Live mistakes as you watch. So I'm just going to take a little bit of gouache and just go in there and touch that. Being left-handed is the curse. These are the kind of things that happen. Big stupid hand. Like I said, everything can be fixed, and now it's all better. Just using a little bit of white gouache to go in and just touch this little ridge of my finger that I just put in there. This is just to prove that I'm human. Not some kind of otherworld god. Even the shipping department made weird sounds. All right, so we're just gonna dry that. Heat gun. I'm just gonna go in, carve my eye back out. All right.
Show the frame.
So this little guy is going to be going into this little frame here, little coffin-y shape. So he sits right on top of there, just like that. Pull back so you can see a little bit. So he goes right in there. So he'll be part of the sale. He's finished, and I'm gonna jump right to the next one.
Is it hard to stop and walk away?
The question is it hard to stop and walk away, and it definitely is for me. I don't start another painting until one is done. So really, it is hard. So for me, the fact that something's finished is good, because I don't like, if I go to sleep, I'll think about it and I'll be painting in my head. I'm not good at turning that part off. Excuse me. All right, we're gonna go right into the next guy here, who is right there. Hopefully we'll, first thing is, let's wipe off my big, dumb, dirty finger.
Don't forget to sign it.
And don't forget to sign it. See, I got sidetracked with my little, my inky finger. One second here while somehow I covered myself in ink and I've put fingerprints everywhere, and this is why I'm not allowed out in public. All right, good point. Let's do my little, put my little Siggy on here. All right, and now he's finished. So the next guy, while I was drawing that, I had a little idea of what we're gonna do. So I think for this one, make sure you got a good little camera angle of it there. All right, let's figure Cupid is just drunk and not doing his job. I kind of imagine him, I think he's like in a barrel. Maybe he's in a barrel getting drunk. I feel like he'd be in a barrel getting drunk. If he had to listen to all that mushy garbage for a whole day, yeah. Let's just draw a little barrel here. Now let's have I feel like he would just be drunk, so we're gonna have him feet kicking up. Let's have, in this hand over here, I think you should have an arrow. Let's have him holding a little arrow. With a skewed heart on, of course.
People always think Cupid's drunk.
Yeah, I feel like Cupid would be wasted. Let's have his wings laying against the... They're like laying on the ground. Like he's just done. He's just had it. He's all Cupided out. There's a couple arrows in the booze. I feel like it should be one. And this is how the ideas, unfortunately, really just come out. You know, it's that's why these are so much fun. They're cute little ideas, and all these are usually just one-off originals. Sometimes they'll make a jump to paint if the idea really strikes me, but they're just fun ways to paint. I feel like he'd be drinking tequila too. All right, so he's going to be in this big vat here. Bubbles. I feel like there should be a puddle of what he's drinking down here too. And you know what else about Cupid I feel like? I feel like he is a devil. So he's gonna have horns. You'd have to be around that much. That mushy stuff, you'd have to be some kind of spawn underground. Let's give him a second arrow. All right. Got his little feet. He looks pretty happy in there. I'm jealous. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna first put in a background, and we're gonna move, get rolling here. I'm just gonna touch this a little bit with my neat eraser to pull up some of the lines. And we're gonna use a similar background color palette because I enjoy that last one.
Josh Gore's question, your myth references, is it Greek? Is it...
The question is, where is my referencing coming from on this piece? There's some questioning that I don't know what I'm talking about in my legends. Clearly, once I put the unicorn parts in there, you'll understand. It's called creative license to make stuff up. I feel like he's just not doing enough research on his end, and he's trying to throw that at me. At this stage, I'm being very loose with the color. Kind of throwing some cooler colors in here. Cool at temperature, not cool like they're cooler than somebody. Gonna throw this in here. Just loosely throwing in, and that's why I really enjoy the watercolors. It's really, you can have fun. It's very loose. So I'm gonna throw a few more. Okay. I'm gonna I keep saying I'm done, but I'm gonna add a little more contrast to the outer edge, just to, I want to draw your eye into the painting, so I add a little more contrast. Cool things I can just take a little bit out of the way. All right, we're gonna heat gun this to dry this layer out to avoid bleeding from the layer underneath it. And then, like you saw before, I'm gonna add a little bit of texture to this. So to do that, I'm gonna first cover this so I don't wreck that piece. We're gonna take a lot of water, really a soppy brush, and we're just gonna tap some of that in there. And if you're like, oh my God, what is he doing? I'm the same way. But it just has a nice little texture. Happy little texture. So we'll lock that top texture stuff down. And then I'm gonna repeat and add just a little bit of the texture to the bottom too, because I just like how that looks. Just a little bit. All right. So dry these down. Excuse me. All right, let's get to the fun part here. Let's put in some of the colors, carve this guy out. First, we're going to work on his barrel. His obvious drinking problem barrel. All right.
What inspired you to start painting skeletons?
Question is, what inspired me to start painting skeletons? And that story really has to do with when I moved out to California, to Southern California, about, geez, almost 12 years ago now, and was exposed to Day of the Dead. I loved the holiday. I was jealous I didn't have a holiday to remember my loved ones like that. It was just an amazing, inspirational event that it shaped the way, what I wanted to do. It basically gave me my direction in art, which I didn't have at that point. It just made me realize I wanted to be a part of that. I wanted to celebrate that time. I wanted to capture imagery and moments in that same way. And really, it gave me that, just really the direction and inspiration. And it's been the main source of my work now for the 12, 13 years since. Just gonna put a couple little dark browns in there to give little shadows. Just adding some little details into the barrel here to give a little bit of interest. Trying to Nice shadow into that ring. Shadow into that ring.
Will you do any tiki themed stuff down the road?
The question is, will I do any tiki themed stuff? For this watercolor thing, Valentine's Day sale, I'm not sure. But I think I do have a couple of tiki ideas for actual full painting. So, excuse me, I think you may see one of those. I've done very nautical based tiki this last year or so with pirates and some of my more nautical theme stuff. I do have a couple of nautical themes that may also venture into the tiki world. I do enjoy it. I haven't done it in a while. It's probably working its way to be time again. All right, so we're working on our drunk Cupid. I'm just gonna throw in some steel rails for the barrel. And it's very loose because I get to go in afterwards and do all the detail work with the ink.
Do you remember what your first skeleton painting was?
As a kid, the question is, do I remember my first skeletal painting is, or was? I think the reality is, excuse me, is, a drink of water, excuse me. I think I remember drawing skulls as a kid, you know, like every other child does, you know, on my textbooks and stuff. The earliest one I can't even remember. I know one of the first skulls that I did once I got to Southern California were mariachi skulls. They all tended to be little band members. It really, I love that classic imagery from Posada, and it really kind of shaped, that impression was really with me, and really kind of the first pieces that I felt like I wanted to devote to that character and still draw to this day. So let's put some, obviously this is tequila. We're gonna do just a little line through there. Sorry, that line, just drawing up the little two little lines, just gives you that reflection of light, makes it look more like liquid. So we'll do that right up here again. Just kind of throw in a couple lines there. We're going to put some tequila in his bottle, obviously, because can't have him sitting there not any booze. Even though he is in a bucket of booze. Let's do some nice wings.
Do you have a favorite piece you've done?
The question is, do I have a favorite piece? I do have some that are really near and dear to my heart. Again, if I paint something I really enjoy, I tend to have to really enjoy the subject matter to paint it, but some of my favorites are definitely the Hunters Become the Hunted, which features two 18th century whalers battling tentacles in a small boat. My Boatman on the River Styx. I mean, those are pieces to me that just really mean a lot. They took a lot, you know, Boatman is a tremendously large piece, one of the biggest ones I painted. I just have, you know, some real, you know, joy for those pieces.
Did you ever give up on a painting and throw it in the trash?
Question is, if I ever give up on a painting and throw it in the trash, and in my 12 years of painting, that has never happened. If it is good enough to make it to me painting, then the idea is there, and it's me that's dropping the ball. I have sketches that I've aborted, you know, things I've tried to sketch and just didn't work out. That for sure, those ideas can die on the vine at that stage. But to me, if I'm painting it, there's no throwing it in the trash. It's, what am I doing wrong? You know, I need to, you know, take a step back and maybe fix something or rework it. But there, you know, it made it this far for a reason. I have to just make it happen and push through that boundary. So we're going to add some more. We're going to add, just going to add a few more hearts in here. Paint those up. And then I'm going to add a few more colors, and we're almost to the inking part.
Have you ever kept a painting because you liked it so much?
Question is, if I ever kept a painting. We have one painting in our house from about 12 years ago that we've kept. We just both felt like it was a really meaningful piece, but that's it. That's the only piece that we've kept of all the. I think we're in the hundreds at this point. I don't know how many, but that's the only one that we've kept for ourselves, and it still hangs right outside my studio. And that's a great one to show in my tour. When we do a little house art tour, I'll make sure we show that one. Yes, there's been some attempts in the house to keep some of the pieces that we enjoy, but as a full-time artist, you know, there's arts for everybody else. You know, I love it, and I learn a lot from painting, and then it's time to let it go to somebody else and learn from the next one. Just putting a few little hearts in here. I figured he was doing some work before he got drunk. We're just going to add a little bit of reflection now to this, to the bottle.
People are gathering intel for next year's Christmas giveaway.
Ah, right, and that is wise, very wise. For those who are new to the stream or don't follow us on Facebook much, we do a giveaway at Christmas time, Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, and it's all trivia questions. And trivia questions come from the shows that I do or from spots just like this. This is a great mining opportunity for to get some of the info. I want to thank everybody who played this year too. We had a great time. It was, again, our biggest year to date. Just a lot of fun. Excuse me. Okay, I'm going to add a few of these little arrows, feathers here. And then we're going to move to, it's almost time. You know what? I feel like there should be a feather sticking out of this barrel. Right into the side. Right here. So we're going to add a little cork to this bottle. All right. All right, I think I'm gonna lay a little bit of shadow in on him. So I'm gonna do the skeleton different on this one. The last one I did all the white gouache, if you guys were sticking around from before. For this one, I'm going to leave him the white of the paper. And I'm going to just put a little bit of shadow in him. Just to give him a little bit of depth to him. And just to mix it up, there's no real reason. I do them both ways. Just since you just washed one, I figure I'll mix it up a little bit. Just mixing a little bit of the shadow in there, and I think a couple arrowheads, and it's time for inking. All right, let's get to some inking here. Before I say that, just adding a few more shadows. All right, let's get to work. All right, so those, just in case you missed the first part, I'm going to ink this now. I talked about I use the rapidograph, I use micron, I use all kinds of pens. Rapidographs are my favorite. They're just, again, they're a little pricey, and they're very frustrating. You have to clean them if they're going to sit for more than a week. But they're just unparalleled in the way the ink flows out of them. And I just really enjoy how freeing that is, that I can move fast and the ink just flows out. So we're going to get started with this size here first.
Do you keep photos of all your work and catalog them?
The question is if I keep photos of all my work and catalog them. Yes, I have prints of everything. I scan everything. I save every piece that I do. I mean, I like to see, how I've grown as an artist. Plus, I don't paint anything again. So, when it's gone, it's gone. So I like to be able to have, obviously for reproductions, but also just for my own memories, archiving.
Who are some of your favorite artists?
The question is, who are some of my favorite artists? So if we're talking about, obviously, live or dead is usually the question. So let's go with growing up. Francis Bacon, as I mentioned last night, was always one of my favorites. Seeing his work, seeing that the Screaming Pope was the first time I realized that art could be, kind of scary but still be called art and still be in museums, and just really enjoyed that style. And I love traditional Renaissance style, religious painting, all that. Kind of grew up, seeing that work and love it. Still find tons of inspiration in that kind of work. Current artists, again, I was talking about last night, I love the graffiti. I love the colors, the freedom, just the style. I've always loved graffiti. I think it's really cool what those guys do, and the rawness of it, the street, all of it is just really fascinating to me. So Nikos is one of my favorite in that realm. And I love what he does. Obviously, if you go look at his work, Nikos, there's tons of his work is anatomical. Excuse me. He grew up, his family were butchers. So he really has a kind of a different view of animals and the way, showing the anatomy and stuff. And I really, I love it. And I think he's definitely one of my favorite current, graffiti guys that's doing what they're doing now. I'm trying to think of other artists that really inspire. Trying to think of other ones and more contemporary. Oh, again, yeah, Ralph Steadman, a huge fan growing up. That's really, I love his loose style. It's really, this looks very tight next to his stuff. His stuff is so loose and free. I love that style. His watercolors, that really, growing up, was something really inspired me. I loved his work and just his free nature. remember growing up and kind of seeing the Pink Floyd's The Wall album art was really amazing to me. That this kind of art, what is this? Where do you know, my teachers never shown me this before. I'd never seen this. What is this kind of artwork? Kind of seeing what Ralph was part of that movement. So moving along here, and I am all over the place in terms of bouncing between left and right. And that's why I like the watercolors. They're just really freeing. It's fun. We're just drawing our drunk little Cupid here, who's not doing his job. He's on break, bro. So that was little wings over here. But great questions, guys. It makes it really fun to draw and answer questions. It's because I do so many live demos, I enjoy talking while I'm painting. It's one of those things. It's strange, but I work better with, you know, questions and crowds. If no one's in here, I'd be, you know, goofing off on YouTube. So we're just carving out all the anatomy. Kind of filling it all in. And I'll go back in with another smaller pen to do some fine detail work after that.
What do you like to watch on YouTube?
So the question is, what do I like to watch on YouTube? And I'll tell you right now, I am Mr. Safari Live. If you go to the Safari Live YouTube channel, it is a channel where they do live safaris, where they are just driving around a preserve in South Africa, and they're just talking about whatever animals come around. I love it. It's just, I just find it really enriching. I mean, it's just kind of quiet, and they'll just be like, you know, and here's an elephant, and here's a hyena, and whatever kind of walks out of the woods is what they talk about. And I just find that really relaxing, and I'm a huge animal guy, so to be able to watch those things and see that, that's kind of my, you know, between drone and, you know, RC tank videos, that's kind of, you know, what I enjoy watching the most.
Paint such a pretty picture.
Yeah, it's a very nerdy, don't let me kid you, it is a nerdy studio that is occupied by, so no one else would ever want to be in here, so it's kind of, but Safari Live is my favorite.
Do you ever do custom work?
The question is, do I do custom work? And I do custom work. Right now, due to my schedule, I'm not taking any new commissions till maybe mid to late part of the year. It's always fun to kind of be part of somebody's idea. So we definitely, I do lots of that stuff. Just currently now, it's just on hold. So I'm going to switch pens now and go to a smaller, much smaller diameter pen as we just kind of finish up the detail here. And this pen's just great because it's just nice and fine. And I was talking about before, but this is just kind of a fun, I really enjoy the watercolor because it's so different than what I do. And it's just really a fun way to kind of mix it up. It's very freeing. I can work on techniques and just kind of focus on details without being, you know, the long projects that, you know, the enamel paintings tend to be with research and sketching, and, you know, they're huge. There's so much work that goes into them. So this is really, for me, very freeing and fun. So right now I'm just kind of putting in some of the details.
Why no mouths?
Excuse me, that's a great question. So you'll notice that these skeletons don't have mouths. There's really, you can kind of break down my skeletons into 3 categories. There's anatomical skeletons, which are more realistic and, you know, typical of a lot of my enamel work, the more serious stuff. There is the middle ground, which is kind of the earlier stuff of mine, which is, you know, kind of goofy but with teeth. And then there's the no teeth version, which you see here, and really is really prevalent in my smaller work. And the reason for the no mouths is kind of, to me, I enjoy there's no way for them to express themselves except for what you see them do. You know, it's kind of a fun way of challenging them, challenging me. You know, this is how he's going to express himself. It just makes them, to me, more innocent. It lets me tell the story with what they're doing, knowing that all the pressure's on me to tell the story, that this little guy is not going to be able to tell you what he's about. Good catch, though.
When you're doing a D-Lo Cribs video.
Question is about a D-Lo Cribs video, and let's all be honest, it'd be it's a shipping department cribs is what people want to see. This is where they poop. This is where they eat.
What's the best way for somebody to find their own style?
So the question is, what's the best way to find their own style? And I briefly touched on this earlier today with someone asking the same question from the last stream. And the best advice I can give to finding your own style is to do a ton of work. Do 50 paintings. Just do a bunch of work. And it doesn't matter what you start doing, because I know 50 concepts could be difficult. But, I mean, you can trace the first 20. Just paint, draw, do the work. Put the work in. Honestly, do finished pieces. And by the time you get to that final piece, at the 50 or 75 mark, you'll kind of have what you are. Your real style, your look and feel, why you're different, will all leak out. It'll be there, and it's how you find it, is by doing a ton of art and letting what is inside you come out and figuring out what your medium is and trying everything. It's all those things help build your style. And the more you do, the better that you'll get. And that's what makes it all work. But you have to put in the work to develop that. There's no, I'm going to draw this way, and by the second painting, you're that guy now, and you're the guy who draws with a blue pen, and that's your style, and that's what you do. It has to be something you love, and something you replicate, and something that comes out of your work as you do it over and over. For me, while the skulls could be called my style, to me the style is the line work. It's the way I carve out the imagery, and that just came from doing tons of paintings, doing tons of work. And that's the best way, is to get your sketchbook and get to work. There's really no shortcut for that. But talking about artists you enjoy, Glenn Barr is one of I really enjoy. He's one of my contemporary favorites. And I've loved his work for years. And I remember, when I first started 12 years ago, kind of drawing stuff he was doing. Because I didn't know what I wanted to draw, but I knew I could focus on drawing if I just looked at his stuff, and I could just practice on that. And that sometimes is easier, just to take your mind out of it and work on technique. Everybody's kind of in a hurry to run out there and start selling artwork, but you got to have a voice. You got to be different. You got to have some reason why people go, oh, that I like that. That resonates. I feel that way too. I see that. So right now I'm just adding in some details, kind of giving everything a little bit of life. Good questions, though. So we're in the home stretch here, probably another 5 minutes or so. So if you get any more questions, fire them on over. We're going to do more of these again. I'm going to make a real effort to kind of, I know I'll be in the studio doing these for the next 4 or 5 days, But even afterwards, once we get to the enamel painting, we're going to do a bunch of different stuff to really kind of share. So you'll see more of this kind of stuff.
Is your use of threes following the golden ratio? Following a rule?
Yeah, the golden ratio and the split of three, those are all great terms for composition. They're real, they exist. I don't think about them, but I know when they're done wrong in my head. You know, it's kind of one of those things where I know, you know, the rule of thirds is definitely, you know, something you should always try and learn and keep in mind and you know, focus on. But, you know, make art. You know, that stuff will all come as you go, but it's not something you worry about or get caught up in. Old master's rules, color combinations, warm, colds. You know, those are all, you should know all those things, but, you know, good technique of drawing is, you know, the heart of all of it. So what I'm going to do now, I think I'm done with the ink. Excuse me.
What about the puncture mark for the arrow in the barrel?
Well, it's sticking right in the barrel. Thank you, though. So let me get, I'm going to use my acrylic paint pen again, just to show you guys who might just tuned in. That's what we're rocking right now. So what I'm going to do here is just going to add some, again, like on the last piece here, just some highlights, just some little ones. Just want to just adds a little bit of life. And adding highlights is very easy to overdo. So it is a light touch. Get in, get out. I just want to carve a few of these out of here. I think we are getting real close to being done here. So I think Drunk Cupid is finished up. What do now? A little bit. Oh, see, dirty. These are the rapidograph. That's how you get fingerprints everywhere. So I'm just gonna add a couple more lines for some things I see. And we're gonna call it done. All right, I'm gonna sign this little guy. And there you have it. So he's all done. Again, he'll be part of my sale. So I just want to thank everybody for joining me tonight. It's a good time. I had a lot of fun doing this. We'll do some more in the future for sure. Any questions, you can put them in the comments. Anything else you want to see, put them in the comments and we'll let you know. But I want to thank everybody, and of course, everybody wants to see the shipping department before we leave, the proof of life. So we're gonna pop the shipping department on there. Cruise on over. This is how much they love the art. This is them right here. Yeah. Yeah. Equally excited. Yeah, this is what I get. So thank you all for again tonight. I had a good time, and we'll definitely do some more. And oh, real quick, someone wants to see what the frame is for that little guy. So we'll just pop that up and show you real quick. So this is the frame. Another vintage frame. I'm kind of a frame hoarder and collect them, so that's kind of what it's going to be. So again, thank all you guys. I had a great time. Here's kind of a final look so you can see them both. Had a great time painting you guys, and thank you again.